Welcome back to another edition of Research Fantasy Presents our MLB DFS pitcher picks for Thursday, May 11th, 2017. Pretty crappy slate of pitching, if we're going to be completely honest, and it's upsetting because I think there's actually some good names on the list, but when you consider them against the matchups, it just doesn't paint a great picture. I mean, I found myself sitting there last night writing the article, asking myself, like, are we going to consider Martin Perez an actual pitching option? And the answer is yes. He might not be the best pitching option, and there's a good chance he gets blown up, but there's so much randomness in baseball, and the opponent isn't great regardless of how good the stadium is, that very well could happen. We'll see it happen probably on 30% of the Major League Baseball slates this year, where we'll see some guys get blown up who shouldn't, like we saw last night with Salazar, although Salazar not exactly the best pitcher anyway, and Strasburg, where they just don't have their stuff together. It just never starts out well, and ultimately it just never ends well. So looking through the list today to find three pitchers, a little bit tough. Like I mentioned, Perez, he's on the radar. Derek Holland on the radar. But if I'm going to do this tonight, I'm going to actually switch up pretty considerably from my breakdown available on researchfantasy.com. I'm going to start things off with Michael Pineda of the New York Yankees. Well, look, you know what you're going to get with Michael Pineda. You're going to get a gem, or you're going to bash your head against the wall for the remainder of your night. Actually, I take that back. What time does this game start? This game starts at 7:05. So the good news is Pineda can go out and throw a gem. We know the Astros can at times be undisciplined, swing away at things they have no business doing, strike out a lot. We know that opportunity exists. We know Pineda can be a good pitcher. We know he could strike out a lot of batters. So that's a good news. The other good news is that Pineda can also get beat up just as easily as he could throw 8 strikeouts. He could give up 8 runs. And why is that good news? Because your night could be over by 7:30 and you could wrap things up, enjoy the rest of your evening while you're seething in fury at Michael Pineda. But that's the reality that we live in, especially in tournaments. You can't look past a high upside pitcher like Pineda. This is the same reason you're going for Danny Salazar, is you don't love it. You don't like the idea of having to play Danny Salazar. I know the Blue Jays are a terrible team, and they were at the beginning of the season, but they've turned around a little bit. The Astros are a good team. You know, they at least have good hitters. They could put some runs up. But still, I'm looking at the upside that Pineda has. I have no issues going there in tournaments. Next up, Michael Fulmer. And this is going to be weird. A lot of these names on the list are kind of a little bit up there in price. And that stinks because we have Coors on the schedule today. But I stick to my guns. I think we can find runs elsewhere. Michael Fulmer against a maybe Mike Troutless Angels team. They haven't been awful, but they're still not as good as they would be with Mike Trout. We can agree on that. The team doesn't strike out much, but any Major League Baseball team is susceptible to having games where they're just not there. Yes, that's a bold statement of condoning the fact that luck occurs, and it absolutely does, especially in baseball more than any other sport. But Fulmer has pitched well. This isn't a guy we want to look past. He's coming off a really, really nice outing against Oakland, another team that isn't like a crazy bad strikeout team, and he had 9 strikeouts while giving up 1 earned run, getting the win in a quality start. Hasn't given up more than 3 runs in a game this year out of 6. 3 times out of 6, he's had at least 7 strikeouts. And he's going pretty good into the game. Nothing lower than 6, a 7, and an 8. So I don't mind Michael Fulmer tonight. I know the price is up there, and we want to get some of these Coors bats in, but sacrifices have to be made, and I'm willing to roll with Fulmer tonight. Last up, Zack Greinke. Most of this just has to do with the fact that Pittsburgh is horrible. I'm not a believer in the Pittsburgh Pirates. They got shut down by average pitching at best. I mean, I guess Kenta Maeda might be a little bit better than that, but whatever you think about Julio Urias, you know he's a young guy. And Alex Wood, good pitcher, but again, not a guy that should be shutting down baseball teams totally and completely. Now they get Zack Greinke, and Greinke has a lot of faults that people point at him. Doesn't have a ton of he's not a high strikeout guy. Obviously, pitching in Arizona doesn't help things out. In tournaments, though, I don't care. I'm going to go there. Last 3 games, 11-9-7 in the strikeout column. One of those was in Colorado. 2 of them were against Colorado, so you know he can shut down a potent offense. Imagine what he can do with a AAA team like the Pirates, who have not looked good in the early stages of their West Coast swing. I have no issues rolling Greinke out there. Yes, he's priced up, but that's fine. Like I said, like 4 times already, I'll figure out how to save elsewhere. You know, you could go with guys like Dylan Bundy. I mentioned Martin Perez, Derek Holland. Derek Holland on DraftKings, I would have to imagine, could very well end up being a 30% owned guy tonight, because I think he's like 5,200. He's at the lowest end of the pitcher list, and he's not been bad. I mean, he's shown pretty good stuff so far, or at least not horrible stuff so far, taking on a Twins team that, as well as they can hit, they can get shut down. So I think that's going to be the key to a lot of players. Just talking a little strategy, I think we'll see a lot of people gravitate toward, hey, let's get a top-tier strikeout guy, and then let's put him with Holland, hope everything works out with Holland, and let's get some of these Coors and Arizona Diamondbacks bats in. All right, that'll wrap it up for our pitcher picks today. Once again, Michael Pineda, Michael Fulmer, Zack Greinke, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel below. Head over to researchfantasy.com, sign up for our MLB mailing list, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Research and Win, and join us again tomorrow.